In this video, we will be focusing on two movement tasks, kicking and sidearm striking. Let's start with kicking. For kicking, the setup involves a rubber ball placed on the ground with ample space around for the individual to carry out the movement task. Participants were instructed to start behind the ball, then kick it forward with maximum effort. They were allowed to move freely in the preparatory phase to find the most comfortable position for maximum force generation. Now, let's look at the adult's example of kicking. This is Zaki executing a kick at maximum force. Firstly, in the preparatory phase. To prepare for the kick, Zaki can be seen approaching the ball at an optimal angle of 45 degrees. To provide himself with a 2 to 3 step run-up, Zaki does not stand directly behind the ball. Instead, he stands a few meters behind. In the execution phase, Zaki can be seen planting his non-kicking foot beside the ball. This will help determine the direction the ball is going to travel. Zaki also demonstrates a full cocking of more than 90 degrees, allowing for a greater transfer of force to be put onto the ball. In the follow-through phase, Zaki's kicking leg swings through a full range of motion at the hip. His thigh rotates forward, then the lower leg extends just before contact with the ball to increase the radius of the arc through which the kicking leg travels. Upon contact, he leans back slightly to compensate for the complete leg swing. The straightened leg then continues forward after contact to dissipate the force of the kick in the follow-through. Zaki has a full range of trunk rotation throughout execution, which allows him to maximize his range of motion. Differentiated trunk rotation is demonstrated as he initiates with movement of his shoulder, followed by his hip, then his thigh. After contact, Zaki's trunk is significantly rotated towards the non-kicking foot. This coincides with his final body direction, as following through the motion causes a full twist of Zaki's body at a significant angle towards the non-kicking foot. Now, we will be taking a look at the comparison between the adult Zaki and the child Jaylin in executing the kicking action. We have broken down each movement task into 3 phases, namely the preparatory phase, execution phase, and follow-through phase. We will also classify each action into any of the 3 stages, namely beginner, intermediate, or mature. From the start, we see that both subjects have taken up different approach angles. Jaylin starts directly behind the ball at an angle of close to 0 degrees, while Zaki takes up the optimal 45-degree angle. For body position, Jaylin maintains the position directly behind the ball, with no opportunity for a run-up, while Zaki provides himself with a 2 to 3 step run-up. In the execution phase, we notice that both participants plant their non-kicking foot right beside the ball. For the kicking leg, however, Jaylin displays cocking at the intermediate level, while Zaki demonstrates a full cocking of more than 90 degrees. After contact with the ball, Jaylin has a short forward swing which stops almost immediately, while Zaki's kicking leg swings through a full range of motion at the hip. The straightened leg then continues forward after contact to dissipate the force of the kick in the follow-through. Moving up, trunk rotation is absent for Jaylin, as her body constantly faces forward, while Zaki has a full range of trunk rotation throughout execution. Continuing from trunk rotation, we observe that Jaylin's body faces forward throughout the entire motion, while Zaki has rotated significantly towards the non-kicking foot. Moving on to sidearm striking. Sidearm striking involves the most difficult perceptual judgment. Success in meeting a moving object is limited in early childhood. Therefore, it is difficult to assess striking of a moving object by Jaylin. For this reason, we adapt the striking task for her by making the ball stationary. The setup involves a rubber ball tied to a bar, with height set at chest level of the individual. Participants were given a starting position of 1 arm's length away from the ball at a 45-degree angle. Here, we have an example of an adult Felix executing the sidearm strike at maximum force. In preparation for the sidearm strike, Felix shifts his weight to the back foot and lifts his front foot up for maximum force generation. To apply the greatest force possible when striking the ball, Felix has his arm almost completely extended. He also swings his arm through a full range of motion in a roughly horizontal plane. To initiate contact with the ball, Felix steps into the heat applying linear force to the strike. Following contact with the ball, Felix redistributes weight onto the ipsilateral foot of his striking arm to regain stability. After contact with the ball, Felix displays a controlled follow-through, allowing the momentum to carry his body through the motion. For trunk rotation during the strike, Felix displays differentiated trunk rotation, forcefully rotating his pelvis while allowing the upper torso to lag behind. This permits a larger swing and contributes more force through rotatory movement. Now, we will be taking a look at the comparison between the adult Felix and the child Jaylin in executing the sidearm striking action. Firstly, in preparation for the sidearm striking action, Jaylin had no weight shift and both feet did not move, whereas Felix shifted his weight to the back foot and lifted his front foot up. Next, during the execution phase, both Jaylin and Felix had their arms almost completely extended when striking the ball. Unlike Jaylin, Felix steps into the heat, thus applying linear force to the strike. Additionally, Jaylin's ipsilateral foot of the striking arm does not move, while Felix redistributes his weight onto his foot to regain stability. During the follow-through stage, Jaylin displays little to no control. She turns a full round due to the momentum, but her arm did not swing through. In contrast, Felix swings his arm through a full range of motion in a roughly horizontal plane. For trunk rotation during the strike, Jaylin displays a block rotation, whereas for Felix, differentiated trunk rotation is demonstrated. Jaylin also has little to no control in the position of her body post-contact. On the other hand, Felix displays a controlled follow-through, allowing the momentum to carry his body through a full range of motion so that he is now facing the direction of the striking arm. Moving on, let us analyze these differences. For kicking, it can be inferred that Jaylin did not understand the significance of the planting action in the preparatory phase. Due to Jaylin not executing the preparatory phase, for example, she had no run up, her non-kicking leg was flexed to a great extent after planting. As a result, her kicking leg was naturally cocked, causing awkward execution as extending it would have resulted in her kicking the floor. This clearly hindered the swinging of her kicking foot at maximal force. Another reason for Jaylin bending her non-kicking leg is due to her lack of motor learning without prior exposure to this action. She has to flex her knees to stabilize herself since she leaned her body too far forward in order to prepare for maximal swing of the kicking leg. However, repeated filming due to unsuccessful tries has unintentionally aided her motor learning. Jaylin displayed better motor control over certain movements. For instance, she was initially unable to plant her non-kicking foot beside the ball before kicking it, but after watching slow-motion videos of how Zaki carries out a proficient kick, she managed to execute this action eventually. For sidearm striking, linking or chaining the movements together is key to executing a proficient strike. The sequence is as follows: backswing, pelvic rotation, arm extension, spinal rotation, contact, and follow through. Being able to do so enables Felix to produce the greatest force possible. Jaylin, however, performed blocked instead of differentiated trunk movements. It is difficult for her because this set of movements requires a huge amount of coordination and control. In a nutshell, sufficient perceptual abilities and eye-foot coordination are required to execute both a proficient kick and a sidearm strike. For all actions to be in sync, the brain has to control the necessary muscles. This requires a great deal of practice for the CNS to get accustomed to sending neural signals to the required muscles. In this case, according to Carl Newell's model, individual constraints hindered Jaylin's execution. Besides that, another individual constraint is her extrinsic motivation and short attention span during the filming process. However, the most prominent constraint for kicking and sidearm striking is her lack of prior experience. According to the IPP, during the response selection phase, sensory information sent to the brain are integrated with previously stored information from past experiences before determining the ideal response. This all happens within a split second. Here, her lack of experience proves costly as her brain has no ideal response options to choose from.